last night I was invited to a men's group. Well, it happened to be all men, and the idea was the gentleman who started it wasn't somebody I know. I was invited by another attendee who was there. He wanted to start something called the Humankind Project. Now, his goal was to bring people together who are interested in bettering both their body and their mind and their consciousness. The Stoics believe there are two things you should focus on. That's it, just two things. What the Stoics said is you should be a good person and you should pursue a career path that you love. Oftentimes for a lot of us, we get stuck with problems. We can't see the forest from the trees. Whether we're working on a new project, a new business, or maybe we want to become digital nomads and we're just not quite there yet. One of the things that's helped myself and my clients is by role playing. Just imagining for a moment how others would do what you're trying to achieve. And what that allows us to do is actually move forward because we can now step outside of our own paradigms and see things differently. I can't tell you how many mistakes I've made in all of my areas of my 5 to Thrive. Now, the key isn't that you make the mistakes. The key is you identify that you made a mistake and how fast you can pick up and course correct. It's constant course correction. When you're communicating with someone, ask them to repeat back what they heard and understood. And I think you'll be surprised at how often that people hear from their own lenses. It's not exactly what we intend. And this miscommunication can cause a lot of problems in relationships and in the area of business. What would you do if you were coaching yourself? So what I want you to do is grab your 5 to Thrive and look at your goals and look where you are in relationship to those goals or where you are within your 5 to Thrive. How would you rate yourself? Now, if you were to step aside and look at yourself from a third person perspective, what advice would you give to yourself?
But the big lie starts with one thing, a small lie. And that small lie is the hook. It's the hook that catches you and brings you in. And that small lie is usually followed up by another small lie and another one and another one until it crescendos into a domino-like effect to that big lie.
Back in my early 20s, I used to work at a gym and people would come in and to cancel their membership. They say, look, I've been a member here for 3 or 4 years and I've never shown up. Now, I used to call that a fat tax, a payment that you would make just because you had a certain condition that was going on. In this case, you paid because you were self-conscious about having this gym membership, thinking that you might show up and thinking that you might go, knowing that you really wouldn't. I pay what I call a freedom tax. And what that is, I run multiple businesses, but I also have freedom of my schedule, freedom to travel with my family. And the reason is I'm paying people to do work that I could easily and capably do, and that allows them obviously a job, but really I'm paying a tax for this freedom. So intermittent fasting is simply fasting intermittently. And the way that most people do it is they stop eating at a certain time and then don't eat to another one. So for example, usually intermittent fasting times or fasting phases are 12 to 16 hours. Yet there's no hard data on the exact time you need to fast for.
Do you invest in your identity? Do you invest money or time into who you are? And now maybe that's changing who you are, but maybe it's actually showcasing who you are. How often do I actually invest in myself and creating my identity and showcasing who that is?
What is it that you stand against? Now, yeah, it's easy to talk about what we stand for, especially in the realm of personal and business development. That's the warm and fuzzies. But what is it you stand against? Because oftentimes I find for most of my clients, that is a better driving factor, or driving force, I should say, right? It's the things that we actually stand against that separate us. Where are you settling? Where are you lowering your expectations to fit in with something you're settling with? And what is the cost of settling for you? I don't know about you, but for me, what's true is I constantly am making commitments to myself, commitments to others. Now, the commitments I make to myself are actually the most important. And the reason that is these commitments are commitments of truth and honor that I'm doing to myself. Now, oftentimes we lie to ourselves more than we lie to somebody else. And it's also easier to break commitments we make to ourselves than it is to break commitments to others. I hope you enjoyed today's Daily Growth Hacks. Please put your comments right down below and remember to click subscribe. This way we can ensure that we're delivering these daily growth hacks right to you each and every day. On behalf of the whole team here, remember, go out and be the author of your own story.